to use a recognizable amount of the chosen fabric. And Betty and I did it for 13 years, and her life changed, and it was turned back over to Hoffman then. But throughout the years, that's still, even though they've added coordinates, as a suggestion, the rule is a recognizable amount in the piece. So that's the way it started. It's certainly been the phenomena of the industry. From time to time, I've had other companies call me and say, tell me about the Hoffman Challenge. And they may do one year and then they drop it the second one because it's not, it requires work to do it. But the value and attraction of that is that people anywhere of any skill level can do it and have their piece exhibited. And we always chose a good selection of different types of techniques of quilt making, even very simple 9 patches, so that the whole range of the skill can be exhibited.
Now, any tips for someone listening that wants to do this? Any suggestions or tips on how to do this in a successful way? Or I don't even know what successful means. Just being part of it, I imagine, is success.
Well, the thing that I have suspected, the way I would do it, is get the fabric, hang it on the wall, and look at it. Contemplate the fabric and see what comes out, see what hits you in the face. I did pieces for about the first 3 exhibits, and after that I didn't do it, but I would always look at the fabric and say, what does it say to me? And I remember probably the funniest one I ever saw was one year that they had the fabric was bunches of cherries, like the 1930s cherry print fabric. And the person did an applique of a toilet bowl with these cherries in the middle, and the thing was called something like a bowl of cherries. So, there's been wild stuff, there's been very simple stuff, but I always say that if you look at it long enough, you'll have have an inspiration, because the idea is, what does the fabric say to you?
Yeah. The
very first one was this Oriental Indian, and my piece was on a black background and had 3 like Japanese fans appliqued on the front, very precisely cut, like the fans. So that's what it said to me, and the others that I did was the same kind of way. It will speak to you, and that's been very evident over the years that the inspiration truly came from the fabric, and that was the intention.
That's very cool. Now, as we're closing in on the hour, and this has been so great, we might have to do some more chatting, because I feel like we haven't gotten to everything. But one of the questions I have is, how over the span of your career have you seen the quilting industry change? Do you see changes in it since you started?
Oh my yes. Oh. It was pretty stable and pretty standard up until the long arm quilt machines were introduced. And this would have been probably in the late 1990s. And it was a very slow start, but it's been the proliferation of the long arm quilting that has changed drastically the industry. People say that they quilt by check. They quilt by check. And it's it's the easy way to do it. And let's face it, a lot of people like to make the quilt tops, but they don't want to quilt it, so it has a need.
Yeah.
The thing that is also a big change is how those machines are used. The motifs that are put onto the quilt has totally changed the overall look of quilting. it's become the quilting is what's the focus and not what is put on.
Interesting.
And for a traditionalist, that kind of gives you a funny feeling.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
The second thing that's happened is the modern quilt movement. And of course, that came on the scene about 2009. And what that's done, it's brought a lot of more people into the industry, primarily young people. But what it has done is it's opened up the freedom and what people believe was the restrictiveness of the rules of quilt making.
Yeah.
But I say that there are only two rules in quilt making, and that's accurate measuring, accurate cutting, and accurate piecing. Beyond that, you can do whatever you want to with it.
Now, do you think
the style of modern quilt making is not necessarily new? Gwen Marston was doing liberated quilting back, 30 years ago. But it's opened up the idea that there is more freedom in quilt making than the rigidness of a sampler quilt, for instance. Mm-hmm. I do have a little problem initially with the lack of emphasis on technique and the accuracy, but I think what's happening, and I was told by one who was influential at the time, that as one becomes more comfortable in quilt making, their accuracy and technique does improve, which has certainly happened. So those are basically the two things that has happened. I'm not sure what the next wave is going to be. Maybe we're going to staple quilts together instead of sew them together.
That would be interesting. Well, anything else? This has been such a delightful hour. Anything else that you want to have on your mind before we end? And we should chat again because I have more questions. But this has been super great. Any other thoughts you'd like to end with today?
No, I can't think of anything right now other than it's my wish that when I read about quilt conventions thing, I would certainly like to see more classes on very basic techniques because I think the world needs it. Yeah. But we seem to have gotten away from that. And the other thing that has happened within just the last 2 or 3 years is the interest in hand quilting. In fact, there's a website called Celebrate Hand Quilting that there's over 16,000 people on it.
Wow.
So I think we're seeing a resurgence in hand quilting from the past. But I really would like, and I don't know what the popularity would be, but I would like to see more emphasis on really going back to the roots. Yeah. And emphasize the basic techniques, because after you learn that, then you can do anything you want to.
It's very true. Well, this has been such a delight. I really do appreciate your time this morning and chatting, and it's just been awesome.
Well, same here, and do contact me, call me anytime, because cool. I'm here and I say that I'm kind of like the insurance commercial. We've seen a lot and we've done a lot of that. When you're around a long time, you do see a lot of things. You learn a lot of things and you observe it.
Well, that would be great.
I did an exhibit in Atlanta back in 2013, and I was asked to do a retrospective work, and I said, I haven't done anything that worth showing, but when I started putting stuff together, I was amazed. I was involved with issue of the postage stamp back in the 70s, commemorating quilting as folk art. I've done magazine articles and a lot of other stuff, and you really do more.
Yeah, I think let's set up another time. I think I'm talking to your daughter next, but let's set up another time to chat, because I think we've got more things to talk about. I think it'd be great to do part 2.
Just let me know.
Okay, cool. That sounds awesome. You have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. So this is Elizabeth Townsend Guard. You've been listening to Just Wanna Quilt, a research podcast coming out of Tulane University Law School. We want to hear from you. Join our army, our quilting army. Go to our Facebook page. Suggest people to be interviewed. Suggest yourself to be interviewed. We are excited to hear from you. But most importantly, I hope you get a chance to quilt today.